Okay, here's an update to warping text in Photopea. Um, it's not the most elegant solution, but it works. A lot of people have been asking about how to get this look where it's flat on one side and curved on the other. So I want to go to Photopea. Well, first I'm going to right click this image as a reference, copy image, and then I'm going to go to photopea.com. I'm going to say new project. Over on the left, I'm going to select, it'll probably be on social, but I'm going to go to print and down to letter for my paper size. And everything else looks good, 300 dpi. Hit create. The first thing I'm going to do is go up to edit, top left of the screen, and hit paste, and then I'll get my reference image in there. If you don't see these boxes to resize things, go up to the top here and you select your move tool, this first tool on your bar here. You'll be using this a lot to move your elements around the screen. Just make sure that transform controls is checked. Just makes it a little bit easier to access this scaling. If you want to scale something and keep the aspect ratio, hold down the shift key and then that'll do that. So let's just keep that for now. So now text. I'm going to go over here to the left, and the type tool is this. Your text tool is this big T over here. Now it's going to default to a pretty small font on most people's, so it only goes up to 150 here. I'm going to put about 250 just to start so I can see it. And then for the font, if you want to use one that's on your computer, you need to click this local fonts box here. It's going to have a little pop-up. It's going to ask you, is it okay to access your computer for your fonts? And you just say yes. If you don't, you can use the system fonts that are built into Photopea, and there's plenty to choose from. But in this case, I'm going to go with college. I've got on my computer, um, and I'm going to make it bold, yeah. And then in this example, I'll click the color box and make it red. Okay, so you click out here, and I'm going to type WMHS. Okay. Now this isn't the exact font, but anyways, you'll get the point. Now in Photopea, when you're in this window, if you go up to something else, you're going to go back and just make sure you click somewhere inside the window. Hold down the Alt key and roll your mouse wheel, and that'll zoom in and out. Alternatively, if you don't have a mouse wheel, you can use the zoom tool here. Anyway, I'll go back to my move tool up here, and that lets me size things. So to get this look, it's kind of tall, and you kind of still want to maintain some height to these, so I'm going to make it taller than it needs to be, like kind of like that. You can do this after the fact if you want to. It's just the way I like to do it visually. So there's two ways we can do this. We can go back to the text tool and click warp and bulge. Right here you have the styles. You can click. I found that bulge sort of gets me the closest to this look for this particular. You can play with all the different ones. Now see how it's gone the wrong way. You go to this bend and pull it back in, and you'll get a good arch, but you see how it's starting to squeeze that top in a little bit. So if you're okay with that, then you're done. Just click OK and you're done. Now if you mess something up or you don't like this anymore, you can hold down Control and hit Z for zebra, and that's your undo. It's also in the edit menu under undo, redo, and you can go step backwards and step forwards, but the keyboard shortcut is Control Z. So now that it looks all right. Delete that extra text box. So right now, it says that there's a T over here on the layers panel with, that means it's still a text asset, and it's editable. I can go in there and change the words and that kind of stuff. But what I'm going to do is make it a shape, and so the computer's going to see it now as just rectangles all stacked together instead of text. So you're not going to be able to edit what it says, but you'll be able to edit the shape with this next example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click over here on this in the layers panel on that text, and I'm going to go down to convert to shape. So now it thinks it's a shape, and I'm going to go up to edit with this selected. So if I select this, in the layers panel, you see how this selected and this has changed color. I want to make sure my text is selected. Well, now my shape that says WMHS. I'm going to go over to edit panel and go down to transform, and then scale down to warp. Okay, you're going to get this grid. All I'm going to do is go right in the middle somewhere and just push ever so slightly up. Okay, what that did is it started my warp. Now, If you zoom in, you're going to see these little blue balls here, and those are your Bezier handles that control the curve. Now, if you hold down, I don't think it works in this, but anyways, if you stay on this line, try to stay on that line, and maybe pick a point like where those two intersect, and you know that you've pretty much gone straight up, and that you know that you can go over here and match that by dragging that bar, that little ball there, and putting it on the same spot. So now that gives us a pretty good arch. And you could go and do the other side. Like I said earlier, if you did that bulge, you could then convert it to a shape and fix the top, but this works as well. So now that we've got that, we can just, at the top, we can go and hit confirm, this check mark, and then there we go. That is our warp. And you can go in here and do effects if you wanted to. You can go to layers and layer style and go with a, like say a stroke on the outside and drag this up, and you'll see how you can get those. You could get your offset kind of, but if you just want to go ahead and go out and do this in another whatever software you're comfortable with after this, now that you've got your warp done, just go ahead and we'll just cancel that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this layer here. I can just hide it. And in order to get a transparent background the way you want in for a PNG or something, I'm going to turn off the background layer as well. And you'll see I can just right click and delete these now that I'm done with them. Oops, Control Z, that's your friend. I'm going to delete that one, and you can delete the background too. As long as you got one layer left, it won't throw you in there. But so this is going to be, you can go with this selected up over here to the right above your layers panel. There's these 3 slider bars, and that's going to be your dimensions. So this is a little over 3 inches wide by an inch, 1.4. If I wanted to resize that, say I want it to be 5 inches wide, as long as this box is checked to keep the aspect ratio, that'll keep you from, if you make it wider, it won't just be wider and it'll start to get stretched out. If you keep the aspect ratio, if I add 2 inches to the width, it'll add 2 inches to the height as well at the same time. So I'm just going to make it an even 5, and it'll automatically do the math for the height. So now that I've got this ready to go as a PNG, I can just go up to File, go down to you're gonna do don't you can save this to work on it later if you want to, but I'm just going to export it as a PNG, and this will be 300 dpi, so it's going to look pretty nice. And probably zoom out in order to, yeah, if I just zoom out with my wheel, you can see that it's there on the preview. You can probably just save the selection, but it doesn't matter with a PNG. So you could you could go in and crop this if you wanted to, but it'll come into your software. It's just this. So since there's nothing on the outside, especially into Cricut, and just click Save, and it's just going to open up like anything else, and you can go in and save it as your warped text, and click Save, and then when you go into your Cricut software, if it decides to play nice with me today, I will go. Let me double check I'm recording. Yeah, Jesus, that would have been fun, wouldn't it? To do this over again. Just make a longer video longer. So just to double check this thing that it's. I'm gonna go to upload. Yada 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 yada. Upload. Browse, and there's my warp text. And it's just simple. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's simple. Continue. And there she is. Apply and continue. I don't need to go right. I don't need to do anything. It's already got no background. And just do a cut image. Yeah. Upload. Okay, and then there we are. You can I don't need to add it to a collection. I guess I need to add it to the canvas. There we go. Jeez Louise. I don't use this very often. I pretty much go in here and see, for some reason, it's gigantic. Generally speaking, I've only found that stuff is true to size when I bring it in at 72 DPI, but you know that's got its own problems. That's normally with vectors. If you're using vectors, like when I do stuff in Affinity Designer or Illustrator, export it in 72 DPI. It doesn't matter with a vector, and it'll be true to size. And Cricut 300 DPI coming in from anywhere else is going to be ginormous, pretty much. So if it ends up being a problem, you could lower that 300 DPI when you make your document to maybe 150 for something like this. It's not going to really matter. But yeah, you can see that you've got your warp now, and you can just go and do your offsets and that kind of thing. So do that sharp corners like the one was in the example. Now, in order to get those, this font is a little different, but in order to get those angled corners, now that's a whole other beast, and that is another tutorial for another day. But there's how to warp a bottom or a top without warping the whole, you know, the whole word and keeping one part flat. And you can go in there and play with those warp tools. They're pretty good. The popular one is the wave, and it's just like it says. You could wave. The two bottom sliders on the warp are not really all that useful. You can get some cool effects, but you're going to find that top slider, just the bend, is what you want every time, and it's non-destructive. So if you don't like it, you can always go back and if you have multiple lines of text as well, what I generally do is I'll go in, if I've got another line, back when it used to just be text, I go back, Control Z, and so here it's text again. You can go and just right click on that panel and hit duplicate layer, and then drag this one down, and now you've got the same size font, more importantly, and the same style, but then you can go in and say, I don't know what their mascot is, but you know, if you did like that, if you did something like that, then you've got pretty much copies, you know, and if you select the two of them together, you can go just like in Cricut and stuff and align them. And then if you wanted to do, say, the Rebels layer, and you wanted to go to the text and warp and do the wave effect, there's the flag. That one's pretty good too. So I'll do the flag effect. So kind of like that look, you know, and then we'll lock that one in. And now with this WMHS, we could probably go and say, if we wanted to take it over here and make a different design, you know, if this was our aesthetic, we could take this one and we would convert that to a shape, go to Edit, down to Transform, and to Warp. And then what we could do is we'll start our curve again and then just take this one, this curve, and sort of drop it and how we want that one. Maybe we'll take this one just a little bit, you know. And then if we wanted to, we could make it match that that flag a little bit. Just gonna drag that down. You know, maybe that's not the look you're going for, but maybe it is, you know. And then we'll go and just say that we're done. We're done with that. So I'm gonna go to, let's see. Oh, let's size that up again. Just kind of click on another tool. It'll get out of that warp menu. You know, say I wanted to do that, and maybe still wanted to make it a little bit longer, even out that curve a little bit. So yeah, you got that. You could go, even if you wanted to, and say take the Rebels, right click that, and convert that to a shape, and tweak it a little bit more. Or you could, what you could do is take these two shapes and merge them together, and then when you go to layer or something like that, they're going to act like one piece, and you can do it and do a stroke around the two of them, you know, sort of get that get an offset type of look, especially if you're just going to print or something like that. Anyways, that's how you do that, and you can change the color of it here. You know, if you want to have a blue, whatever your team colors might be. But then they act together, and then you could warp this whole group together. And if you wanted the whole thing to be however you want it, or if this whole thing needs to be stretched out, or anyways, that's how you can do your work. Sorry I went so long, but I thought it was good to be a little thorough instead of making 3 videos probably. But you guys have a good one.